hockey studio here for another edition of Attack Wrap. I'm your host, Matt Sanderson. We have a different special guest coming on the show for this evening's show. It's going to be Director of Public Relations, Shaun Bisson with the Owen Sound Attack. I'm pretty sure especially you've been around Owen Sound for many years and even around the Attack, you know the familiar face of Shaun. So we're looking forward to talking to him. But we have a lot to cover, talking about as we're heading into the final week of the OHL season. Boy, oh boy, it seems like it just started a little while back, and now it's slowly wrapping up. A lot of playoff implications still to be sorted out. OHL Player of the Week, we're going to start off with him, and it comes from the Barrie Colts and Dmitry Sokolov. 90 points this season, and he's got 5 goals and 4 assists, 9 points in 3 games this past week, a +7 over that duration, and you see there a +2, and he's played 61 games on the year. He, since coming over to the Barrie Colts, has been absolutely incredible for the club, and a big part of their success that they've had so far, especially in the second half of this season. The Huron Drafter Player of the Week, Ethan Zapula, takes away that award. 50 points on the year, 17 goals, 33 assists, 2 goals, 6 points in 3 wins that they had this week. And he's actually hit his career high 50 points. So congratulations to him on that. And I don't know, Mark, if we have any highlights that we want to show you of Zapula's action. Here it is here. A nice dish back to Zapula right there from Jonah Gadjevich, and that was against the Saginaw Spirit. That made that a 4-0 game, and it's just a nice little pass out in front, and Zapula does what he knows how to do best, and that's score goals and help his team pad leads. And there's another one right there where another rebound comes out and he jumps all over that. He's done very well so far this season on the road. He's been a key contributor to their play this season on the road, and even a couple weeks back, that line of his was absolutely ridiculous. And you see another play there where he's just in front and gets a stick on it and puts it into the back of the net. We're going to switch over now to OHL scoring. It's a heated race on top of the scoring in the Ontario Hockey League, but Aaron Luchuk has edged out Morgan Frost, 110 points on the season right now, 47 goals, 63 assists, and Morgan Frost 3 points back of him, along with him Jordan Kyrou, and then Nick Suzuki 7 points away from that 100 mark. We're going to have to see if it might be a little bit of a stretch in there, but hey, who knows? This is Nick Suzuki that we are talking about, and there's 3 games left in this season. 93 points for him. Sam Miletich, 91 points, and then Dmitry Sokolov in that 90 spot, and then from there it's Adam Masker and Jason Robertson, Evan Bouchard, and Boris Kachuk rounding out the top 10 there. Flipping over to the Attack scoring leaders, well, like we mentioned, Nick Suzuki, 93 points. 30 points back, though, is his partner, Kevin Hancock, and you can only imagine what Kevin Hancock would have done points-wise this season with the productive that we've seen him have so far this year, what he would have done if he was not out for that period of time. But you see there's 63 points on the year. Aiden Dudas, a 30-goal scorer now for the Attack, 30 and 30 for 60 points. And then Maxim Sushko, the third 30-goal scorer for the Owen Sound Attack. We'll get into news and information about Maxim Sushko in just a little bit there. We're going to go over to the standings now, and as I mentioned on the top of the show, still some playoff implications still to be sorted out. We know this for sure. The Hamilton Bulldogs going to come away probably with that top spot there, but the Barrie Colts still only 6 points back of them as they're trying to fight for that first overall spot. The Kingston Frontenacs, Niagara Ice Dogs, Oshawa Generals, the North Bay Battalion, they're 3 points behind that Generals team, and we've mentioned it with former Owen Sound Attack players now on that roster and what they've done to bolster that team. Mississauga Steelheads and the Ottawa 67s round out the top 8 there. And then looking over into the Western Conference, well, Sue, they locked things up quite early on this year. 111 points now for them. The Kitchener Rangers, 88 points, and for the Sioux, that is a franchise record for them to be able to grab 111 points. The Sarnia Sting, 93 points. Even if the Sarnia Sting were to win out, they will just come up short with 99 points, won't hit that 100-point plateau. And the London Knights in 4th there. Owen Sound only 2 points back of them. We know that those two teams are going to be playing. It's just still to be determined which team will get that 4th home ice advantage spot. And then there's the Windsor Spitfires in 6th with the Saginaw Spirit and the Guelph Storm rounding out the top 8 there. For Maxim Sushko, we want to give him a congratulations as he signed his entry-level NHL contract with the Philadelphia Flyers today. And big kudos to him as he's put in a lot of hard work into this season, and 55 points now on the year. He's a special player for the Attack, and I'm pretty sure that the Philadelphia Flyers pretty happy to have him in their organization. So we do also want to let you know that we have a pair of tickets to give away for the final regular season home game of the year and the final game of the regular season for the Owen Sound Attack against the Sarnia Sting this coming Saturday. Only one pair of tickets. That's what we're aiming for today. But it's a relatively plain and simple question. So if you've been following the playoffs over the last couple years, you should be able to pick this one out. Along with that, we also have some player interviews and we have some highlights that we want to give you. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to be chatting with Director of Public Relations for the Owen Sound Attack, Shaun Bisson, here in studio, and talk to him a little bit about how he has thought that the Owen Sound Attack season has gone this year. Feel free to call in. We'd like to would be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thanks for joining us here. We are going to just go to break. On the other side of the break, Shaun will be in studio with me, and we're going to have highlights of this past week for the Owen Sound Attack. Stay with us here on Rogers TV. Welcome back, everybody, inside of the Rogers studio. Matt Sanderson alongside Director of Public Relations for the Owen Sound Attack, Shaun Bisson. Shaun, thanks for being in studio here.
My pleasure, Matt. Thanks for having me.
And Shaun does a lot of work here with the Owen Sound Attack. He's one of the main reasons why we're able to have players and people from the organization of the Owen Sound Attack on the show here for Attack Rep. So we're very fortunate to have him working his job behind the scenes. Shaun, we'll jump into some highlights in just a little while, but one of the things is you look at this Owen Sound Attack team, and obviously you've probably answered this so many times, the expectations coming into the year, but when you originally saw this team, even in the preseason, what were your first thoughts of where this team could go?
I mean, you kind of already answered it. I've answered this quite a bit, but and I think anybody that's watched this team coming from last year into this year, they were expecting a very fast team, a very skilled team, a team that could play a lot of puck possession, and a team that could put the puck in the net. And I think the fans have gotten that for the most part this year. It's been a very exciting brand of hockey to watch. I'd say we're probably a little bit disappointed with where we're at based on what our expectations were coming into the season. externally, I think maybe some of the expectations of being Memorial Cup champions before the season even started were a little bit high, but we did want to come in and get off to a bit better of a start than we did. But over the course of the season, I don't know how many man games we've lost to injury. That's taken a huge toll on the team, and I think you're kind of seeing now since the beginning of January, this team's been on a good roll, and fans are starting to see the hockey that they were expecting throughout the course of the season. And as we get ready for the playoffs, there's no better time to get hot than right now.
Absolutely, and Owen Sound certainly did a great job of that, of being able to come away with a very big weekend that we'll talk about in a little bit. They had guys like Patrice Palmu, Cordell James, Matt Schmalz, Santino Santarami last year, and then those guys go on to bigger and better things, or retire from the OHL, and you have some fresh rookies now coming in. This rookie club for the Owen Sound Attack, I feel that they're pretty talented.
Oh, absolutely they are, and I think you have to look no further than the guys that we took in the first couple rounds of the draft. I mean, Mitchell Russell, he's having a very good season for being a rookie center in the league, and people don't really understand how tough it is to just play that centerman position in the OHL. There's so much defensive responsibility. You have to be responsible for getting in on the forecheck first and creating that cycle game for your players. So Mitchell's done a tremendous job at really fitting into the OHL, getting his feet wet, and I think you've seen over the last couple of weeks, he's starting to be a little bit more dynamic. He's had a couple of really great opportunities to score. Had a goal called back a couple of weeks ago in Wilf that would have been a second goal of the season, but he's really starting to fit in. He's starting to find his game in the OHL. So Mitchell as a first round pick, he's fitting in just quite nicely for us, And then second round, Matt Guzda and Igor Chibrikov. Matt Guzda is already our franchise leader for wins by a rookie goaltender. Got his first career shutout the other night. We're over the moon with how he's playing. I don't think people always understand how tough it is to be a rookie goalie in this league.
Sure.
Right now there's only two 16-year-old goalies in the OHL. So Mac's doing a tremendous job, and Igor, with all the injuries we've had on the blue line and the depth issues that we've had there as far as keeping guys healthy, Igor's done just a fantastic job. He's doing exactly what we asked for him to do, and people are seeing how good this kid's going to be. He's 16 years old, 6'4", 165 pounds. When he puts on about 25 or 30 pounds, look out, because he's going to tear this league up. He's got all the raw tools there, and he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in a couple years' time.
Yeah, and you mentioned Matt Guzda, and he was kind of thrusted into things a little bit early on, and for a lot of organizations, you look at it as they try to wean the goaltenders into things. Unfortunately, that kind of wasn't the case for this club, but I think from where he started out to where he is, it's basically night and day.
Oh, absolutely it is. Back in training camp, General Manager Dale DeGray said that as a 16-year-old, Matt Guzda is ahead of where Michael McNiven was at the same age. And I think you're starting to see that. People don't remember that Michael didn't play his 16-year-old year in the OHL. He played in the Ontario Junior Hockey League with the Georgetown Raiders. And that was one of the best things to happen to him. Obviously, CHL Goaltender of the Year last year, and having an amazing season in the American League with Laval right now. So people often forget that for goalies, it takes them a little bit longer to develop. And no, it wasn't ideal having Mac thrown into the situation that he was in late October, early November. But I think it's only going to benefit him as not just a goaltender, but as a person. From the start of the year to where we are now, he's come such a long way, and not just his skill set, but how he approaches the game, how he's matured as a young man, and that's really what you're looking for with a goaltender. I think at the beginning of the year, if you said he'd play 18 games, people would have been thrilled with that. He's already won 14, and that number could go up even higher. So he's doing a fantastic job, and we're very lucky to have a goaltender of his caliber moving forward.
Now, because of the fact that he got pushed in, or he got put into things a little earlier on, do you believe that that might make him a little bit more advanced than you'd see maybe from other rookie goaltenders due to the fact that he had to jump into the fire right away?
I think it's a very fine line that you walk with that, especially because had he been able to go to a junior B team or a tier 2 team and play there, he might have gotten more minutes at the start, and he would have gotten a lot more reps, seen a lot more rubber. Not to say that hasn't seen a whole lot of rubber this year, but for the most part, we outshoot teams. The puck's not in our zone all that often. So for a 16-year-old goalie in the OHL, sometimes playing a lot of games. It can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but for Mac, I think you've watched that progression over the course of the season and seen just how much better he's gotten, and I think you know, it's a blessing in disguise for him. When at the beginning of the year you might have said, well, we don't want this kid carrying the load for a little bit of time, but at the end of the day, and once the offseason hits, we're going to be really happy with how he progressed over the course of the season, and it's just going to make him better coming into next year.
Yeah. Another good rookie that I've seen this year that's having a good season, Dalen Grew. I think a lot of people kind of underestimated him being able to come into the year, and obviously Wayne Grew being his father, he's got big shoes to fill there, but he's an exciting player when he's out there on the ice, Shaun.
He is. He's one of those players that toes the line, and that's not a bad thing. You want to have a guy that lives on the edge a little bit, and he brings a lot of energy to the game, a lot of physicality, and he's got a knack for putting the puck in the back of the net. So Dalen's done exactly what we've asked him to do this year. Last year, when he was able to come up and get his feet wet a little bit with the team that we had and the run that we went on, I think that benefited him tremendously. He had a great year in Junior B last year, and we're very excited to see him continue to progress moving forward because, like I said, he brings the ability to score goals, but he also has a little bit of tenacity in him, and he's really a fun player to watch, especially in the corners.
Somebody like Aiden Dudas, who is having a phenomenal season, and I bring his name up all the time because you just see where he was from his rookie season to where he is now. He's playing with so much confidence out there on the ice, but you could almost say that you could tattoo hardest worker on his back because it seems like that's what we see every single game.
I like to call him the team pinball.
Yeah.
He bounces off of everything and he never stops moving. He's one of those guys that when you first watched him play, you said, there's something special about this kid, and there really is. The amount of skill that he has, how dynamic he is with the puck, his skating, his edge work. He actually reminds me a lot of Patrice Palmu. Maybe not as big as PD was, but he reminds me a lot of him just with his knack for getting to the right area and making sure that the bigger guys don't knock him off the puck. You watch in the CHL, NHL Sherwin-Williams top prospects game, that 6'8" Kevin Ball of the Ottawa 67s was trying to work him over down low later on in the game. Aiden Dudas is only 5'7", and a 6'8" guy couldn't get the puck off of his stick. For him to have the season that he's having and to progress the way that we expected him to after last year, it's tremendous, and I think he's going to be a pretty high pick come the NHL draft this year.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to switch over to some highlights, and Shaun, feel free to give your input after you see these highlights. Definitely a good highlight package, we can say the least there. But we're going to start with Thursday night in Barrie, where the Owen Sound Attack ended up pulling out a win over the Colts.
Darchuk down low for the attack. Back at the point for Lyle. Lyle passing that one across to Phillips, to Zapula, back to Lyle. Lyle winds up, his shot stopped by Edmonds, rebound, scores! Sokolov will chase after it. He takes the hit, puts it off the back of the net. Cameron, shot from the wing, shot scores! Now will pass it ahead. That's blocked by Hancock. Reaches Murray. Turns it over. Good work there. There's the chance short-handed in front to Hancock, scores! Pass was turned over by checking out what's happening, and there's the Owen Sound Attack winning the face-off. Owen Sound as Suzuki will carry it ahead. He'll find Zapula. Zapula through center to Phillips. Shot scores! Dmitry Sokolov. He'll find Sveshnikov on the wing. Sveshnikov to the slot, scores! What a shot by Andrei Sveshnikov. Looked like it may have gone off the bar and in. Suzuki digs it free. Luchuk looking for it. Comes back to the point for Sokolov. Winds up, shot, scores! Tucker along the boards for Heitzner. Heitzner, quick pass. Trying to get to Howardchuk. Lazarchuk scores! So we'll see if there'll be playoff implications going into that game or not, depending on the score. Here in the Colts, there's Wilms. He'll just tuck that one in. Back in the corner, turned over. Sokolov goes behind the net. Back to the point for Tucker. Shot. Scores! Zapula goes around the net. He's taken into the boards there by Magwood. Back to Phillips. Phillips holds on. Shot, scores! Marcus Phillips with the winner. And the Owens.
So Marcus Phillips, the OT hero, and he's been such an important piece on this team all year long, Shaun, and he steps up when they needed it the most, I feel. And that was a barn burner game, a good game to watch as a road game. But you look at that and you go, yeah, you know, there was a little bit of a comeback from Barrie there in the third period again. But Owen Sound, they did what they needed to do to win.
They absolutely, and like you said, Marcus Phillips has been such an important piece of what we've done this year, and that's his second overtime winner in the last few weeks as well. So a guy that's really stepping up in the clutch for us, and a guy that's logging a lot of minutes on the blue line right now. Yes, we would have liked to have held on to that third period lead, but Barrie's been a tough team this year, and anytime you can beat two of the top teams in the country between the Barrie Colts and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in the same week, you got to be really happy with that. And it's a road win's a road win. The BMC is a tough building to play in, and we'll take those 2 points and run away with it.
Now, we'll talk a little bit about the third period in a little while. I do just want to touch on the aspect of when you saw Barrie coming back there, was your first intuition of like, guys, like, what are we doing? This is kind of happening again.
I think a lot of people are starting to get that feeling that, oh, here we go again. They've watched this movie before, but it's important not to really feel like that, especially this late in the season, because these guys they're giving everything that they have, and some of it's been a little bit of the hockey gods have been frowning upon us, and other times, you know, between the Barrie Colts and Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, those are two very dynamic offenses. So you have to play almost a perfect game to shut those guys down at times, and it's something that, you know, it happens, but what we did on Thursday night in Barrie, we just buckled down and pulled out the win in the end. And you know what? 2 points is 2 points. Doesn't matter how you get it. At the end of the day, a win's a win.
All right, so the Owen Sound Attack, they pull out the barn burner, and then it's a totally different story when they turn things around against the Saginaw Spirit. Let's take a look at the highlights for the game against Saginaw.
Jenkins trips over the puck. Shorthanded opportunity for Brett McKenzie. McKenzie shoots, scores! Brett McKenzie picks the corner. A shorty gets the goal scoring open here tonight at the Bayshore. Sends it up the left wing. Sushko spins back deep in his own zone. Jacob Friend now calmly will play it ahead to Trent Bork. Bork finds Sushko. Here comes Maxim Sushko up the middle. He scores! Maxim Sushko to the backhand, and it's 2-0 Owen Sound. Away within, Hancock will find Nick Suzuki, and Suzuki has got a step here on Baffert. He's going to go wide on him, takes a shot, and he scores! Nick Suzuki, career goal number 100. A great shot there to reach the milestone. Spins away from a check. He'll drop it back to Bork. Owen Sound changing the forwards. Coming over the board, Sapula and McKenzie. Up ahead now is Gadjevich, and he's got to chase after this one. Gadjevich will get to it. Passes in front. There's a shot. He scores! Ethan Zapula puts it home, and it's 4-0 Owen Sound. Draw to his left, 20 seconds to go. Face off one. Owen Sound wants to keep it inside the Saginaw zone. Lyle down low. Lazarchuk scores! Down Lazarchuk slips it 5-hole, and the Attack put up one more and stretch the lead to 5-0.
Talked a lot about the line shuffling over the last couple of games. And
rookie netminder Matt Guzda has his first career OHL shutout.
So you could almost call it a trifecta there for Owen Sound in that game. They come away with the 5-0 win. It's Matt Guzda's first OHL career shutout. And on top of that, Nick Suzuki reaches his 100th goal with the Owen Sound Attack. And boy, oh boy, the list goes on and on about how special of a player Nick Suzuki is, Shaun. But the mentality, the focus out on the ice, his overall presence in this locker room must be over the moon.
It's huge when you have a player like Nick and of Nick's caliber that is able to put up the points that he does. He's already moved into the top 10 in franchise scoring, and it's unbelievable to watch him on the ice. But then when you realize that he's doing this while also being one of the top shutdown forwards in the league as far as defensive play is concerned, and how important he is on our penalty kill, and just all the intangibles that he brings into a locker room, It's unbelievable, and he's been one of the keys to us this year. Obviously, last year finishing 5th in OHL scoring with 96 points. He's probably got a chance to break that his career high in points this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if over these 3 games he does reach the 100-point mark. There's just so many things that Nick does right, and it's no wonder to me that the Vegas Golden Knights took him 13th overall in last year's NHL draft.
Yeah, and the one thing that you see from Nick Suzuki is he seems like a very calm guy. He really doesn't. You see emotion out there from him, but he's very level-headed overall. He's
such a cerebral player that I think people think that he's not always giving 100%. But that's because he's seeing the game in ways that people sitting in the stands, they just aren't. He's seeing the ice as if he's almost watching it from above, and he's thinking 2-3 steps ahead of everybody else that's out there. And that's why you can see a lot of plays where it might look like he's icing the puck, but he notices somebody's jumping off the bench and they're going to beat the puck down in the offensive zone for basically a breakaway pass off of the end boards. Just little plays like that, and how easily he can cycle the puck with guys like Kevin Hancock and Jonah Gadjuk. I mean, to me, that's the best line in the OHL, just from all the different things that they do. They can put the puck in the back of the net, they can shut down the other team's top forwards. But when you look at the puck possession style that they play, and they are in the offensive zone almost every single shift for almost the whole shift, a lot of that funnels through Nick and his ability to get the puck down low and find the open guy to keep it down low.
The one thing that I was very impressed with in that game is basically from the drop of the puck, they virtually controlled that. They were all over Saginaw, and I felt that was one of the best games that they played this season.
Absolutely it was, and Saginaw's not a bad hockey team. No. They're in quite a fight for playoff positioning with Windsor and Guelph, and they play hard every single night. And I think that we just stuck to our game plan and we let our big guys dictate the pace of play. And you saw that trickle all the way down the lineup. The guys that are playing a fewer minutes throughout the night, they were like, okay, this is how our stars are going to play. We're just going to keep playing this exact same way, and that allowed us to shut down any opportunity that Saginaw had. They only had 16 shots on net, and I know Matt Guzza said to Greg Cowan of the Owen Sound Sun-Times that it was maybe the easiest shutout that he's ever had, going back to minor hockey, obviously. But it was maybe easy for him because the guys played the game plan to a T that night.
Absolutely, and it brings me back to last season. I believe Michael McNiven at one point, I think it was like 14 shots, and he ended up having a 14-save shutout overall, but it was just the play in front of him. We only have a couple minutes left, so we'll roll the highlights for the Sioux after the break. Do want to quickly throw out that trivia question for the viewers at home. When did the Owen Sound Attack and the London Knights last meet in the OHL playoffs, and who won that series, and by what? I'll give you a hint. Owen Sound was, I feel, the only team to bring London to the brink in that playoff there. So we're looking for the year of the playoffs and who won that, along with the score of the series. Shaun, like I said, just a couple minutes. I want to quickly touch on when you thought, or when you saw the season starting to turn for Owen Sound. A lot of people, myself, I kind of look at it and I go, that first couple weeks in January, it seemed like everything turned.
Actually, I would go back before that, really and truly to prior to the Christmas break. We had the Kingston Frontenacs and the London Knights for our final 2 home games before Christmas, and both of those games were very low-scoring games. I believe the Kingston game was a 2-1 shootout loss, and we lost to London 1-0 the next day. And I think that was the turning point of the season because we lost those games, but they were tremendous hockey games in both ends of the rink for our guys. And that's when our players started to really see, okay, we're almost there. We're so close that it's just a couple bounces going our way. And I think you'll really see that that's when things started trending in the right direction. It took a little bit to get some of the wins. We had a little bit of a slide there, but things started moving in the right direction for us and set us up for the position that we're in now.
And if people do remember, that is when the time Olivier Lafreniere stepped in to the role for the Owen Sound Attack. Stay with us. We still have a lot more on the other side of the break. Going to chat with Shaun a little bit more about this season. We also want to give those tickets away, so call in and hopefully you can get that trivia question. Gave you some hints. It should be a pretty easy one, so we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Eddie!
Welcome back, everyone, inside of the Rogers studio. We do have our first caller. We have Wilf on the line with us. Wilf, how are you tonight?
I'm pretty good.
All right, so do you think you have the answer to our trivia question here?
The
2015-2016 season.
Okay.
London won the series 4 games to 2 in the last game on a Sunday.
Absolutely. Wow, what a memory. That's.
Well, I was at the game.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, and so yeah, you nailed it right on the head. You see there, London won 4-2 in the conference quarterfinals in the 15-16 season. So congratulations, Wilf. You come away with a pair of tickets to this Saturday's game against the Sarnia Sting. Should be a good one. Final regular season home game. Do you have any questions here for Shaun?
I know. Just keep up the good work for the season.
Thanks very much, Wilf.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you very much, Wilf. Yeah. You look back at that playoff run and you go, you know, London had such a dominating team, but everybody forgets. It goes back to the very first round in that quarterfinals. Owen Sound basically made them nervous, I feel.
It was actually, I think it was very similar to our second round series against Sault Ste. Marie last year.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody thought that the Sioux was going to give us any trouble, but they got off to a 2-0 start in that series, and we obviously didn't have quite that same success against London, but you know, to take 2 games from them and really scare them, because I think that's what it was. They weren't expecting that from us, and our coaching staff that year had a tremendous game plan for them and line match absolutely perfectly, had everybody rolling when they needed to. It was a really fun series to be a part of. I'm sure it was a really fun series from the fans' perspective to watch, and I think a lot of people started to give the Attack a little bit more respect after that, and it's carried over into last season. And then I think you know, no team wants to play us in the playoffs right now. We might be in the 5th spot as of right now, but nobody wants to play us in the playoffs, especially after they saw what we did to Sault Ste. Marie on the weekend. Absolutely,
yeah. And you got to keep in mind too, those were the only 2 losses that London had in that playoff run there. Flipping the script, though, and talking about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, let's take a look at the highlights in what was an overall fantastic game. And it was 2 points for the Owen Sound Attack, but let's see those highlights in Sunday afternoon's matchup.
It's a nice afternoon for hockey in Owen Sound, and it's a spirited rivalry here between the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and the Owen Sound Attack here at the Harry Lumley Bayshore Community Center for Brandon Vandershot. Owen Sound Attack hockey on Rogers TV.
Brett McKenzie moves it up the boards. It comes out into the neutral zone. Ethan Zapula showing some speed, trying to bounce on the puck. It hopped over his stick, and Barrett Hayden has the handle of it. He played it back. McKenzie hops on the puck. Brett McKenzie to the goal now. Wraparound attempt. He scores! What a fantastic effort from Brett McKenzie. He strikes, and it's 1-0 Owen Sound. We'll keep the puck low. Dudas spinning, trying to give Timmins a hard time. Timmins knocked him down, gives him another whack as Dudas gets back up. Good battle behind the goal. Barrett Hayden came in and got it. Hayden turned it over. Dudas shoots and he scores! Oh, baby! Aiden Dudas picks the corner. 2-0 Owen Sound. Lazarchuk will knock it down, and Lazarchuk will spot Zapula. Zapula's going to set up McKenzie for the breakaway. Brett McKenzie scores! Making a pair for Brett McKenzie, and Owen Sound stretches the lead to 3-0. Inches in, caught Sushko napping. Timmins now looks to cut through the middle, spins onto his forehand with a shot, comes out in front, and it was jammed wide. Pressure continuing to be applied, and Howdeshell scores! Owen Sound tried to move it out. Sandin turns it over. Here's a chance for Nick Suzuki. Suzuki driving in. Shoots. Save made. Puck loose. Trickles over the line. It's Jonah Gadjevich to poke it home. And the Attack restore the 3-goal lead. To the Greyhound zone. Moved up to Frost. Frost was going to build up some speed as he comes from his own end. Dances into the zone. Inside, outside. Cuts in and he scores. Morgan Frost, how do you do? Roll the highlight reel. It's their first look of this third period. Suzuki trying to poke it away from Kachuk. Noah Carroll behind the net. Suzuki picks his pocket in tight. He scores! Nick Suzuki with a little more. Suzuki magic. It's an early third period goal. Now here's an opportunity on the right side. There's a shot by Kachuk. Blocked nicely by Jacob Friend. Timmins fakes, shoots, scores! Connor Timmins picks the corner, and the Greyhounds capitalize on the 2-man advantage. Sandin sends it in deep, going behind the goal. Gettinger now on his backhand. Sandin comes down the boards, drops it back to Hollowell, who covered his position nicely. Hollowell to Rasmus Sandin. Sandin, top of the circle, he scores! Sandin gets it through. Back-to-back power play goals, and the Greyhounds are to within one. But here come the Greyhounds the other way. They've got the numbers on their side. Sambrook jumping into the play. Tkachuk swings it across right side middle. Frost scores! 3 in a row for the Greyhounds. They've tied the game. 3 for 6 in the shootout this season. It's the Vegas Golden Knights prospect Nick Suzuki coming in. Fakes to the backhand. Save made by Villalta. Radish coming in off the left side. Right hand shot. Waits, shoots. Does not put it home. Maxim Sushko to go next. 30 goals this season, 1 for 2 in the shootout. Belarus's finest, Maxim Sushko coming in. Sushko shoots, scores! Through the 5-hole, a Sushko salute. The Attack are on the board. Trying to tie things up here in the bottom of the second. Kopacka weaving in, slows right down. Save made by Lafreniere. Kengadjevic. Get Owen Sound the extra point. Jonah Gadjevic coming in on Villalta. Wakes backhand and he missed. He's 0 for 2 in the shootout this year, but can Frost tie it up? Frost coming in on Lafreniere. Drags forehand. Save made. The Owen Sound Attack win.
And if you weren't at that game, boy oh boy, did you miss the Bayshore Rock. And I think that's the first, or one of the first times this season that the Bayshore has absolutely erupted. It brings me back to the goosebumps I felt in that home and home last year when when Owen Sound scored 3 goals in like a minute and 50 seconds on Erie to come away with the win there. But Shaun, that was a great game.
It was an unbelievable game, and the first thing that went through my mind as we're starting to build the lead, and then obviously Sault Ste. Marie came back to tie it and force a shootout. But anytime you beat the #1 team in the country, it's a really good feeling. And the first thing that came to mind was a quote from when George Foreman knocked out Joe Frazier. This is back in the '90s, but down goes Frazier, and that's the first thing that really came to my head. And I'm not going to lie, it's always sweet to beat the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and anytime we can get a win against the #1 team in the country, it's a great feeling. The barn was electric on Sunday, and we're hoping that that's going to be the case come playoff time, and I know it will be against the London Knights.
Absolutely, yeah. We do have Jeff on the line with us. Jeff, how's it going tonight?
Good, Matt. How are you?
Pretty good. Do you have any questions here for Shaun?
I actually was hearing you guys talking earlier about the 2 games, how Shaun said this is a big turnaround in December. I told a lot of people the same thing watching that game on December 17th against London. Even though we didn't win, that was like one of the best games I ever watched, being it was only 1-0. And the boys were in it all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have to agree with you there, and it goes back to what Shaun was saying, that just that close.
It was a razor-thin margin, and I agree, Jeff. It was one of the best games that the guys have played all year. Right next to that game on Saturday night against the Saginaw Spirit, and even really the first 40 minutes against the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Those are 3 games that you can pinpoint this year as being very, very important to what we've been able to accomplish. And like I said, we didn't get the 2 points against London back in December, but that's really where things started to turn around for us.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, like you're saying about Sault Ste. Marie. I didn't expect to leave there with 1 point. We left there with 2, and that is not bad for a whole weekend of 6, which is not bad.
No, and hopefully we can keep that rolling this weekend.
Yeah, and it starts tomorrow.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff, well, we appreciate talking with you. It's always good seeing you, and I guess we'll see you this weekend, eh?
We'll see you tomorrow, Matt.
All right, well, we'll see you tomorrow, Jeff. Myself and John Morris in the studio here as the Owen Sound Attack traveling to Flint to take on the Firebirds. Now, let's bring up that aspect of it as the final 3 games of the season. You break it down for the Owen Sound Attack, Shaun, and it's Flint, Windsor, Sarnia. Still a couple of those games in there where you say, you know what, you don't want to give any of these teams any doubt, because any of those 3 teams could easily come up and beat you. But now, Mark, let's throw up London's 3 remaining games. And you see there, the London Knights take on Sarnia, Saginaw, and Sault Ste. Marie to round out the season. I'm not trying to be biased here by any means, Shaun, but if you kind of weigh both of those, I think Owen Sound's got a little bit of the easier schedule.
I mean, based on where teams are at in the standings, yes, but we're 2-1 against Flint on the year. We're 2-1 against Windsor. And we haven't beat Sarnia yet this year. So none of these games are guarantees by any stretch. Obviously, London, they're in a tough situation, playing 3 games in 3 nights to close out the season. But Sault Ste. Marie on the Sunday for them, that's the Sault's final home game, and there's really no impetus on Sault Ste. Marie to play any of their top guys. So it's quite literally a crapshoot going into the weekend, and we just have to worry about taking care of business on our end. Flint has played us hard all year. They're a very young, dynamic team with a lot of talent. Ty Delandry is one of the best players I've seen at his age in this league in a long time. So we have to make sure we go into Flint tomorrow night and really play our game. And the same thing in Windsor on Thursday night. Michael DiPietro is a goalie that in the first round, I don't want to be who they have to play in the first round, because DiPietro can win a series. He proved it last year in the Memorial Cup, where he backstopped them to that win, and he's one heck of a goaltender, and anybody that has to shoot on him is going to have a tough night.
Absolutely. And if you can imagine a first-round matchup with the Windsor Spitfires and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, if it were to pan out that way, Shaun, that you could kind of give the Sault Greyhounds a run for your money with DiPietro between the pipes there. I
think you could for sure. Like I said, he's a tremendous goaltender. He's a guy that's going to have a long NHL career ahead of him, and Sault's a great team. But they will be in tough. Anybody will be in tough against Michael DiPietro. And Windsor's not going to roll over either. They've got a lot of pride in that organization, and they play hard every single night. Their coaching staff, Trevor Letowski especially, has done a tremendous job with that group of guys, and they're going to be a tough opponent for whoever they play, just like any team in the Western Conference is. It's the best conference in all of major junior hockey, especially in the CHL, and there's never anything given to you on any night.
It's a lot of fun to see what is going to happen in these last few days as the season winds down. And as we've already mentioned, Owen Sound going to be playing London. It depends on kind of where things end up. We might not find out until Sunday night or Sunday as Owen Sound finishes up the season on Saturday. I guess we'll figure all of that out. But we do have some interviews that we do want to show you. Our play-by-play man, Mark McCauley, caught up with a couple of the guys after the win on Sunday. And we're going to start with Trent Bourque first, as he's been a big part of this defensive core. Let's see what Trent Bourque had to say post-game.
All right, Mark McCauley standing ringside at the Bayshore, joined by Owen Sound Attack defenseman Trent Bourque. And Trent, a wild one here today where you guys prevail 6-5 over the top team in the country, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Lots of ups and downs in this game, but one thing that stood out right from the start was from start to finish, this was quite a high tempo. I'd imagine you got to be feeling a little tired after this one.
Yeah, no, it was a battle all game, from the first period all the way to the end of the shootout. So. No, it was a quick game. We knew we had to play fast to capitalize on them. So.
For yourself on the back end, what do you have to do when you're going up against such talented and highly skilled forwards? I mean, the Greyhounds can throw 3 deep lines at you that can all come at you with a ton of skill.
Yeah, no, you just have to kind of look and know who you're out against, and know who's on our team, who's on the ice, and kind of adapt and play the way. Like, we know what they can do. We played them all through playoffs last year, and we've kind of found a way that can beat them, so it's good.
You mentioned about the playoffs, 3 wins in a row going into your final 3 games of the season. What are you guys looking at in the final 3 games to really work on to be set and ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, just continuing what we're doing and trying to even improve on what we're doing as well. So just keeping what we're doing going and continuing into playoffs.
And lastly, this building really had a good atmosphere going here this afternoon. Kind of similar almost to a playoff game, has to have you really excited about the second season.
Yeah. No, we got the best fans in the league, so we're just excited to get going. I remember last year in playoffs, even through the season, it's always loud in here. So it's a fun place to play.
All right, well, congratulations. Good luck next week.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, the Owen Sound Attack will be next in action Wednesday against the Flint Firebirds.
And Trent Bourque, somebody who is so close, Shaun, to getting that first career OHL goal. There's been a number of times this season, but he's been such a vital part of this club for the years that he's been here. But you look at him as a whole, especially on this blue line, who this blue line, they've faced a number of injuries this season, but they've still held it together. Trent's one of those reasons why.
Trent's been maybe one of the glue pieces for our blue line this year. He's a versatile player that can create offense when he needs to. Obviously, he's still looking for his first career OHL goal, but really big post. I believe it was against Saginaw this weekend. It was just less than an inch away from going in probably, but he's a guy that when he plays simple, he makes a huge impact on the game because he's so fast and he sees the ice so well that when he really sticks to what he does well, and that's making a good first pass, right read on who's coming in on him, his gap control is really good. All those really simple things that you want to see a defenseman do, he's at the top of his game, and that's when he has the most impact for us. Oftentimes they say that when you don't notice a defenseman, that's the best game that he's played. That's the case for Trent, and he was an honorable mention for our player of the week this week just because of the week that he had. He played so well in Barrie, so well against Saginaw, and so well against Sault Ste. Marie that it was just not offensively what he did, but what he did on the defensive side of the puck. And that's stuff that got him drafted by the St. Louis Blues, and that's really what's going to help him continue to have success in the postseason. And
you see, when he was in studio actually last week with us, he basically mentioned that of, my goal is if I am not noticeable on the ice, I've done my job.
Exactly. That's for every defenseman, and whether you're a Sean Dursey who put up 47 points in 34, 35 games before getting injured, or if you're a guy like Jacob Friend who plays a very similar game to Trent Bork where he's at his best when he's shutting guys down and making the really smart, simple plays. It doesn't matter what style of defenseman you are, but when people aren't really singling you out, that means that you haven't done anything wrong, you haven't made any mistakes, and you're probably having a positive impact on the game.
The one play that I saw in the Sioux game, I think it came the last couple minutes in the third period, you probably remember it, where the fact is he ended up going and just getting his stick in and knocking it down the ice, and then Sioux had to come around and regroup again. Just those little plays, like you mentioned, so key. We still have a little bit to go here. We want to key up Captain Jacob Friend, though, as he definitely was happy about this shootout victory.
All right, Mark McCauley once again at the Bay Shore ringside here with attack forward Kevin Hancock. Kevin, a big 6-5 win this afternoon over the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in a game that had a pretty high tempo. Where would that compare this season to some of the best tempo games you guys have played?
Yeah, it's probably one of the best ones we played. We got away from it in the second period there a bit, but we kept to the systems, getting pucks in deep, working the cycle, and it paid off for us.
A tough challenge for you guys going up against the #1 team, but getting the win here, how much boost does this give you guys heading towards the final 3 games of the season and into the playoffs?
Huge confidence for us. Proves to everyone that we can hang with those guys at the top, and we've always known that, but it's nice to get the win here.
3-on-3 action, I got to ask you about it. How do you feel about it, and what is your approach going in there?
I enjoy it. It's a lot of open ice for forwards, so it's just waiting for that one break, one mistake by the other team to get in their zone and get an odd man rush or something.
And it was a good atmosphere here today in the Bay Shore. It definitely has to have you excited for what's to come in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Playoffs here is a crazy time, and can't wait.
All right, so 3 games to go. What are you looking at in the final 3 games for your team to do to have you guys in the right mindset heading to the playoffs?
Play every game right, full 60. We're here pushing for the 4th place for home ice advantage to bring it back for the Bay Shore for games 1 and 2. So it's coming out in those last 3 games with a playoff mentality.
All right, well, good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin Hancock in the attack in action Wednesday in Flint before going to Windsor Thursday and finishing up Saturday against the Sarnia Sting.
All right, so little communication there. That was Kevin Hancock, if you didn't already notice. We're going to show you Jacob Friend in just a minute. Sean, I do quickly want to touch on the role that Kevin Hancock plays on this team, and especially that top line with Nick Suzuki. I'm pretty sure Suzuki and Gadjevich were pretty happy when Hancock came back.
Oh, absolutely. In just the same way that when Hanner was back in the lineup, Zook and he were just as ecstatic when Gadge came back from his injury too. The 3 of those guys, they know where each other's going to be on the ice. they've got some sort of weird connection going on. I don't know what it is, if it's telekinesis or they just innately know what one another is going to do. And Kevin truly is one of the most underrated players in the league. And I didn't think I'd be saying that after his 80 points last season. I think people maybe would have paid a little bit more attention to him, but he's still one of the most underrated guys out there, and he can beat you in so many different ways. Just like Nick Suzuki, he plays so well on the penalty kill for us. He's so responsible in his own zone, and he sees the ice better than almost any player I've ever seen. As well as Nick Suzuki sees the ice, I think Kevin Hancock actually sees it a little bit better than he does. Wow. And that's what you want out of your centerman, and that's why you see those two interchange on draws, and they're able to just feed off of one another and know exactly what they need to do to get the job done on any particular shift. And Kevin's just such a great glue guy in our locker room. Everybody loves him, and he's willing to go to battle for any one of his teammates at any given moment. And that's why he's such a big part of our organization, and we're going to be thrilled if he's back next year as an overager. Yeah, definitely. Probably Attack fans hoping for that, but you also got to credit him with hopefully he lands with a good NHL hockey club, because I think he rightfully deserves so. We're going to take a look now with Jacob Friend, as we're going to catch up with him and his thoughts of the win on Sunday.
All right, Mark McKelvey standing ringside at the Bayshore after the Owen Sound Attack 6-5 shootout win over the Sioux Greyhounds, joined by Attack captain Jacob Friend. And Jacob, this was an intense one here today. You're going up against a highly skilled opponent, #1 in the country. This has to be a big momentum boost for your team going into the final week.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are 2 points that I don't think the Lennon Knights thought that we were going to get. But we knew coming into the game that we had a very good chance to beat these guys. It was a pretty close game last time we played them, and I think that we played pretty well. We got unlucky with some penalties in the third period, but we managed to win the game.
Just looking at your decor and you guys on the back end, I mean, you're going up against such skilled forwards who can bring it every single shift. How do you guys maintain that composure, especially when there was stretches in this game where the Sioux really controlled the pace?
Yeah, absolutely. This team's got a very skilled forwards, and it's important to limit their opportunities. I mean, they're a great team. They're #1 for a reason. They're going to get their opportunities, but you got to make sure that they earn them. I think it's important for our decor just to keep pucks moving and give them to the forwards and keep things simple. It'll be pretty good for us.
We saw what was a really exciting 3-on-3 overtime. You had some time out there. When you're out there in 3-on-3, kind of what's your mindset? Because it seems that everyone's just looking for that one mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's tough on defense. You got to just try and stick with your man, but there's usually lots of switches. But it's important to just stay on the D side, and if you can ever get an opportunity to jump into the rush, then absolutely it's important to end the game in overtime.
All right, so going into the final week, you guys have 3 games left, 2 on the road before coming back here on home ice. What are you looking for from your hockey club to wrap up the season and to head into the playoffs?
Yeah, like I said before, we're just got to keep it simple. We've been playing some pretty good hockey as of late. Our third periods have been tough for us, but I think that if we can clean that third period up, it's going to be pretty scary going into playoffs and final stretch here.
All right, well, best of luck this week.
Thanks very much.
All right, the Owen Sound Attack, as mentioned, take on the Flint Firebirds Wednesday. Sarnia will be in here on Saturday for the final home game of the year.
All right, so that wraps up our player interviews, but obviously those 3 pretty happy, pretty humble, but they know that there's still work to be done. Shaun, only a couple minutes left. Want to go a little bit off the board here and say congratulations to you, as I believe, what, you into week 2 now being a dad here?
Yeah, my wife and I welcomed 2 beautiful daughters a couple weeks ago, 2.5 weeks old today, Annabelle and Lily, and I know they're watching at home with their mom, so hi girls, daddy loves you. We're absolutely thrilled to have them, and it's been just a blast these last couple of weeks. Always tough when you're juggling personal life with the hockey season, especially ahead of the playoffs, but it's amazing. There's no better feeling than being a dad. And the cool thing is, I saw your one Twitter post where you mentioned the fact that, hey, maybe both of these girls could be a part of the LPGA. I know golf is a big part of your life. Yeah, it is. I've always said that if somebody offered me tickets to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals or tickets to Sunday at the Masters, I'm taking tickets to Sunday at the Masters every single time. And it's a sport that, you know, my dad got me introduced to at a very young age. He's a Canadian PGA teaching professional, and it's something that I've always loved, and I hope I can pass that along to my daughters at some point. Now, when you're talking, you seem like you come off as, you know what, I think you could shoot under 80 in a round. Is that possible? Yes, yes, absolutely. I play to a .4 handicap. So
wow.
Nice. Under 80 is maybe this year not so much with the babies. I'm probably not going to be playing as much golf as I want to, but that's okay. It's all going to be worth it.
All right, so the Masters just a couple weeks around the corner. I want to reminisce on your most memorable golf moment.
For me, it would probably be watching Mike Weir win the 2003 Masters. He's from Brights Grove, Ontario, which is just outside of Sarnia, where I'm from. I grew up playing at the same course that he grew up playing at, Huron Oaks Golf Club, and watching him win that in a playoff was, you know, as much as my dad got me hooked on the game, that was the moment that really turned the key for me, and I've been in love with golf ever since. Tiger winning in 2005 with that chip in on the 16th hole was pretty memorable too, but it would definitely have to be Mike Weir's win in 2003.
All right, so just a little bit left. I want to quickly ask you if there's a shot that you remember that you made that's a memorable one.
Absolutely. It would be the 13th hole at the Sarnia Golf and Curling Club. I spent a summer working there on the grounds crew. It was the second time I'd ever made an albatross. It was a 6-iron from 203 yards on the par 5 13th. Bounced once, hit behind the cup, and sucked back in. You
hit your 6-iron 203 yards?
Yeah, I mean, it was playing a little bit downwind, but that's a pretty stock 6-iron, yeah.
Boy, oh boy, I gotta get out to the range more, that's for sure. I'm a little bit of ways off. Shaun, it was great having you in studio tonight.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Really appreciate being on.
All right, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. There's the final regular season games. Watch those. It should be a lot of fun.